Hey, how you doing, Mama Earth? Oh, yay. Whatever you want to call me today, it'd be fine with me. I wasn't planning on doing it like this because I was going to put my makeup on and put my clothes on and get all, presentable. But I was on Facebook and I saw something that just, I don't know, I saw two things. I saw a video of a young man rapping who is now dead. Uh, his name was Amin, and he was one of the most talented brothers that I have known. He came up on the block where I grew up, where the rest of my people are, Sangamon. Came up around there, and um, he had so much talent, but something happened that broke his spirit, and he was unable to recover. And it was a long time before he met his end, but he met it, and it was still way too soon. And so looking at that brought up those memories of seeing him when he was so excited. He had won. He was supposed to go to New York, and the deal fell through. And just watching him with his broken heart go through his life and to have it end tragically was painful for all of us that loved him and knew how much talent that he had. Um, so I saw that. And then I saw um, a post by Auntie Bellum. I want to acknowledge you for putting that up there. It was just a meme, and it said something like, if voting didn't matter, then we wouldn't have all the freedoms that we have. And he went down the whole list of them. And all of them that we now enjoy, uh, they came through our vote. And here we are, we're in the phase of early voting. It's the midterm elections. We have so much at stake. And yet, nobody seems interested in voting. Nobody seems to think it's important. It's not glamorous or shiny or fancy. It might require you to stand in a line or do something mildly inconvenient. Um, and you're not talking about voting. And we have a race here in Illinois that is so important that the President of the United States came. And he came to Chicago State University, which is on 95th and Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. It's a predominantly black university. Its president is black, its board is black, its trustees are black, its students are black, it's in a black neighborhood. So you know that he came down here to address you, black people. And the security there was tight. They did it airport style, and it was a long process. It was a long line. And I'm told that many people got disgruntled and they left. So I think the Email and Patricia Jones Convocation Center seats approximately uh, 6,000 people, and there were empty seats there. So, I listened to the president speak, and there was a moment there when he seemed almost as if he was about to holler and throw up both his hands. He is a brilliant man, and he has a way with words. And he said, that he understands how people can become cynical around the politics, particularly because of the divisiveness that we experience in our country, ever since we elected the first actually black president of the United States. Um, yeah, that's true. And, I watched how the jubilation and the elation and the my president this and Michelle Obama's outfits and the pride in the children. We were so excited and so filled with this enormous sense of place and importance, and that we had accomplished a thing. And I sitting here 6 years later, we reelected him. So we came out to elect him to participate in the historical process. And we came back again, I guess, to say, yeah, we did it and we'll do it again. But what I'm talking about and what had the president looking so haggard about is, what was our expectations for him once we elected him? What was it that who were we electing really? Were we electing the first black president, or did we think we were participating in some mystical, magical process that was going to transform a black man who had the audacity to believe that he could become president? Uh, and you got to look in your own heart for this answer. Did you think that he was uh, the second coming? Did you think that he was the return of Jesus? Did you think that even in a small, tiny way? I hope that you say yes, that somewhere in your heart you felt that this was a sign from God that things were about to change in our lives as black people. Um, I think you may have felt that a little bit if you never said it, and or that you thought that by casting your vote, it was going to miraculously transform the mindset of a country that made its bones on the enslavement of African people. Did you think that they were going to welcome you now and like you now and accept you now? Uh, which I can understand if you did. I can understand if you felt that way. Um, but surely after the you lie incident, you knew that we weren't in Kansas anymore. And with everything that we've witnessed, you must now feel that you have been deflated, that was not the case. And he is just a man who had a vision for how we could become a better nation. I want to say to you at this point that vision included you and it included me. There is no such thing as one person being able to do anything of any substance, and of the magnitude that the expectation that we have placed upon him to make it all better and make it all right uh, was unfair at the least, and just foolish at best. Um, this is not a magical land. This is America, and it is a democratic country. There is a democratic process. Democracy does not speak to the party, it speaks to the people, we the people. And so, if there is to be any change, it will require the effort of the people to make that change occur. By voting him in, we sent a strong message that we could unite across color lines and all the other isms that hold us back here in the United States, that we could unite across that for that purpose of saying that we do believe in democracy and that we believe that it is self-evident that all men are created equal. But we have done very little since electing him once and then twice. We have done very little of our own accord to ensure that we have a cohesive agenda and that we make that case for our agenda along the lines that is set out by the democracy. I don't know what you thought. If he was going to go in there and just be our mouthpiece and say what we wanted and what we needed, his life, if you've read his books, I mean, he doesn't really, he wouldn't be the best person to articulate that because that was not his experience. We are the best people to articulate our experience. Yet we said nothing. You know, I'm curious to know how many petitions you signed, and I'm curious to know how many phone calls you made to your elected officials. I'm curious to know how many letters you wrote, how many events did you organize, how many times did you chip in for buses to ride up to Washington to stand in front of the White House with your signs to say that we want equal justice under the law, to let our young people go, that we want to be treated as equals in this great country that we built. It doesn't happen with just one person. Our president is weary. He looks so tired. You know, you're mad because he didn't speak up for you. And I think he's wondering what the hell happened to us. You know how the gay people were able to get their agenda not only on the table, but across the table and signed into law was through the techniques that your ancestors put in place. The Dr. King and the Freedom Riders and all of the others that participated in the marches, that were willing to go to jail, that were determined that the next generation and the generations thereafter, which is us, would have the right to vote, would have the right to live where they wanted to live and to work where they wanted to work and to be educated fairly and treated the same as any other American citizen. This is the reason that they did those things for our generation and our children's generation. And now we have done this thing of taking that right to vote and electing a man to office, yet we refuse to participate in the democratic process. We refuse to organize. We refuse to rally. We refuse to travel, make phone calls, write letters. We don't want to do any of that. We just want him to fix it. And it's not going to happen. You can see that. So now we elected him the second time, and now you're mad. You don't even talk about him no more. You couldn't even fill up Chicago State's Convocation Center when he came to the South Side to speak to you directly, to tell you how important it is to vote. And he shouldn't even have to do that at this point. He shouldn't have to do that. And then where were we when they was calling them liars and niggers and all kind of stuff and threatening? They threatened him at least 30 times a day. His life, his family's life. He goes through hell and high water sitting in the White House. What have we done to demand that the treatment for our president be the same for as any other president? Have we organized? Have we stood up? Have we spoken out? We haven't done anything because now we're mad that he's not Jesus and he's not even, I don't know who else he could have been. Or you don't understand the democratic process. Like you don't know what it means to be a citizen. Like you haven't studied. Like you cut school or you cheated on that test constitution. You know, um, do you know the branches of government and do you know how government works? Because it doesn't seem like it. Because we're not doing anything to advance a cause through the democratic process. He's an elected official. He has said it on more than one occasion what it takes to get an agenda on the table. And it's not whining. It's effort. It's work. And now, so we have an election. We're in election time right now. This midterm election could change everything in the Senate, in the Congress. You know that much, right? That's where the laws get passed, right? You know that much. You know you need to have enough people on your team to be able to override the other team. And so, whether or not the election is held in your state or any state that there is a possibility to unseat a Republican, is where you should have been sending $3 and $5 and $1, and you should have been volunteering to make calls in North Dakota or wherever these places are. Because you're supposed to be on top of this because this is your life and this is your responsibility as a citizen. You know, nothing is free, particularly freedom. There is a price, and that's the price, the engagement in the civic process. And so now Governor Quinn is on the ropes. So he's fighting to win in Illinois, where we've elected the first black president, the first female senator, the first female black senator. You know, we've made all this here, the Mayor Harold Washington, we've done all of that. But we drop the ball when you need to be carrying it the most, the civic engagement part. And so now Quinn is up there fighting with Rauner. Rauner now, he's a Republican. And you want to tell me that this Republican millionaire cares more about black people than Governor Quinn because he gave you some money so you could go and divide our people. Some of you pastors, some of you ex-publishers, you know, and you came and nickel-dimed the other organizations that could put Rauner's face and name out there. You wanted to nickel and dime them because you working on behalf of him. So now you have our people just immobilized because of this bullshit, you know. And what I'm saying today is you all better recognize that it is nothing that you have in common with Rauner. Not nothing. He don't give a damn about you. You understand? Republicans, whether they're the poorest cracker down in the deepest South or the wealthiest one percenter on the East Coast, are united in the one thing that matters: their vote. They are going to vote Republican because the Republicans represent their ideals of what this country means to them. Now, how in the hell are you going to extract Rauner from that united group that has done nothing but obstruct the man that you selected to be president of the United States? How are you going to extract Rauner and pretend as if he's someone that gives a damn about the person that works at minimum wage? He already told you what he thought about minimum wage. And a good person I know that's very smart explained to me that just because a person is good at business does not make them good at government, because their interest is a bottom line, and a bottom line is a group of figures that are either red or they're black. They're numbers, not people. So whatever it takes to get the numbers out of the red and into the black, that's what their focus is on. If it means that your ass will not get a link card, then so be it. Because the easiest way to balance the budget is on the backs of the poor and on the backs of the people who demonstrate clearly time and time again that they will not organize around their own best interests, that they will not organize around their own self-interest, that they will not organize. They will not organize. You couldn't pronounce Barack's name when he was state senator. It was once the other decided that he was a viable candidate, then everybody was, oh yeah, oh yeah. But it's not about one man, it's about you. If you want to say one person, it's about you. Now, we've had people to be jailed, we've had people to be threatened, we've had people to be beaten, we've had people to be tarred and feathered, we've had people to be castrated and raped, we've had people to be lynched, we've had people to be defamed, we've had people to be ostracized, we've had people to be murdered in cold blood because they wanted you to have the right to vote. So, after you listen to this, you look yourself in the mirror and say, have you done everything that you could do to make sure that the president got the agenda that he had for American people on the table and supported in the way that it needed to be, so that he would not have to be subjected to the media indifference and lack of respect for the office that they once held in the highest esteem? You know, look in the mirror and ask yourself, now that I accept that he's not Jesus, and now that the glamour has worn off, and now that I realize that this man on a daily basis doesn't know if he's going to live or die because of the hatred, people doing backflips over the fence and busting up in his house with knives where his daughters live. He's got his hands full. Have you done everything that you were supposed to do between the time we elected him and today? When they cut $8 million out of the budget for food stamps at a time when the minimum wage is not even enough to feed a family of two, let alone a mother and a father and a couple of kids. Have you signed a petition? I can say, I put a petition out there on a couple of occasions, and, it got to the point where I had to get almost rude just to get you to sign it. Like, you doing me a favor. And if you were, so what? But actually, you're doing yourself a favor. You know, you're rushing out, you're spending your money in Orland and all these places. When you go to Orland, because I've had to go a couple of times and I have a straight up attitude about being there because the Carsons by my house don't look like the Carsons in Orland. You know why theirs looks like that? Because you run your ass over there and give them your money. Do you see the people that live in that area? They're the Arab families and the white families that make their money off you. And then you come back to your neighborhood and you have no stores. You don't have anything. And it's nobody's fault but our own. We got to take care of us first. And so, I'm going to end this right now, but I'm going to ask you, those of you who are leaders, in whatever way you lead, whether you lead in whatever you lead, if you have the ear of anybody that's 18 or older, you need to be making sure that they vote. Later for all the I'm the bestest and I got the most, that later for all of that. Because the time is coming soon. Well, they just keep testing you and they keep testing you and they keep pinching you and sticking you with pins to see if you're going to react. But you are anesthetized and you are in fear, so you are immobilized. And I'm telling you, whether it's the end times or not, doesn't matter. Because as long as you're here and you're breathing, you have a responsibility for that air that you breathe on this American soil. You have a responsibility to yourself, the ancestors, and the children that are coming. And you need to demonstrate your appreciation for the freedom that you do have and for the path that has been paved for your ass by getting up and getting over to the polls and re-electing Governor Quinn, by making sure that you know what your agenda is. Decide on 3 things that we all need to work on. And let's get busy and just do the simple basic stuff. I'm talking letter writing and phone calls. This game ain't changed. It's been the same game since George Washington was the president. It's the same game. We just the last ones to play it. Everybody else comes, they look around, they view the landscape, they see what it takes, and they do it. I look at my Mexican brothers and sisters. I remember when they were cutting my dad's grass, had the baby, he was the baby. And he was out there trying to put the grass in the bags and stuff. And I remember other black people walking by all smug and yeah, they cut the grass and stuff. And they cut that grass right on up to where they at now. Sure, some are still poor because they're colored. They're people of color. But they have got a grasp of what it takes in a democratic society to move forward as a collective. So don't be mad at them. Emulate. It's a shame that we have to emulate at this point. But we're going to do what we got to do, right? Because we don't have no pride and no ego. We're going to make sure our president knows that we support him. And if he ever deigns to come back to 95th and King Drive, y'all ass better be out there so fast and so strong that he knows that he is not crazy. Because he was looking so weary yesterday. So weary. And he said, please do not become cynical. And do not think it's cool to be cynical about your right to vote. Vote and then be cynical. But by all means, you have got to engage in the process. You got to get in the game. All the rest of that stuff, whether or not Jesus returns, whether or not Pastor need to get up out of the business of politics. You understand? There's a time and a place for everything, and you can't do it all on Sunday. So leave that to those who are called to guide in that area. And you stay up out of. If you need a damn building or a new church or whatever it is you hustling for, you get it from your parishioners and your congregation. But you stop playing with them politicians. And how dare you just delude our people into thinking Bruce Rauner would do anything for them. Not a damn thing. You know, you should be ashamed of yourself. I'm going to tell you, you should be ashamed of yourself. Are you looking to get a reality show next? That's what I want to know. You know, everybody want to be famous. Famous about what? What does it mean, really? Because I've seen fame, both sides of it. And it's a tricky thing, and it ain't all it's cracked up to be. It's better to have integrity in whatever you do. You will find that your life is much more valuable when you don't have to be in fear or envy or greed. And that's what that is when you make a deal with a man who is clearly not for your people. And for you, young lady, Miss Middle Class, High Society Black woman that's going to sell us out to Bruce Rauner, for you, F you too. Yes, I'm saying it because I see my brothers and sisters out here suffering. And you know that Bruce Rauner has nothing for them. And you have no right to divide our people like that. You vote for Bruce Rauner if you want to vote for Bruce Rauner. That's your business. But we don't need you out here peddling his shit to our people. You know, find something else to do. You know, and maybe it's time to do, sit down somewhere. Get out of the public scene if you can't be about the people. We don't have any time for that. These are hard times. The black middle class is shrinking. So where they shrinking, where they going? They going to get the jobs that the people that have been holding them down, you'll take them now, right? So where they going? They going further down. And what about the ones that was under them? They just gonna be under the ground. What are we gonna do with them? Just put them all in jail, right? That's what we gonna do. So no, we don't want what you peddling. We're not interested. And my people, we're going to get up and we're going to change the way that we're looking at ourselves. We're going to get right with ourselves. So if Jesus does come back, or if it is the end times, you better be sure that you have loved your brother as much as you love yourself. Because all the rest of that stuff about your soul and all of that, that's not what the man said according to what I read. He had only two. Love God with all your heart and your soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. I don't see you doing that. Get your butt out there and vote. And let's get busy. Let's get started. The 21st century is here. And they are changing rapidly. Let's get with the program. I'm going to bed. I'm tired. All right. That's it. Peace.